Hey everyone, MundaneMatt here. I've been getting asked about this story by multiple people who actually don't watch the single video that I do every day with 3 stories. So I'm clipping it out, and then starting tomorrow, I'm just going to be posting 1 video a day with 1 story. And then soon I'll be announcing a podcast that will be covering a lot of the other little stories that I missed throughout the week. So thank you very much, and enjoy this video about dumb, shitty SJWs who got just desserts. All right, guys, and finally today, I want to cover this story that was blowing up the last couple days. I just did not get the chance to cover it. Guild Wars 2 devs fired by ArenaNet for antagonizing gamers. Now, if you haven't heard about this story, the makers of Guild Wars 2, which is an MMORPG, the company ArenaNet, recently let go 2 of their employees for antagonizing gamers and members of the Guild Wars 2 community. Now, this drama started a couple days ago with tweets from Guild Wars 2 narrative producer Jessica Price, who began taking feedback from fans and Twitch streamers and misconstruing it as sexist intimidation. Now, I want to take a look here at the full breakdown of what was said. I feel like giving context is probably for the best here. Now, she says on July 3rd, the dirty secret is I'm not sure if it's possible to make an MMORPG character compelling because people have different expectations about what the character will be as opposed to a pre-designed character in a single-player game, which, look, to be fair, when you're writing a narrative story, that makes sense. You know, like you want to make like you want to make a character in the game that someone would play as compelling as compared to one that's already been pre-written. So there's a lot of options and you know, variety, so to speak. And it does become a little bit tough for a writer. Now, Duror Gaming here responds back with really interesting thread. However, allow me to slightly disagree. I don't believe the issue lies in MMORPG genre itself. I believe the issue lies in the constraints of the living story's narrative design. Going on to say that when you want the outcome to be the exact same across the board for all players' experiences, then yes, the design, you are extremely limited in how you can construct the personality of the player character. But if instead the players were given the option to meaningfully express their character through branching dialogue options, which also just aren't the checklist for an achievement that forces you through dialogue options, then perhaps players would be more invested in role-playing aspect of that particular MMORPG. Nonetheless, I appreciate the insightful thread. So, I mean, clearly he's coming back with very constructive feedback. At no point was this even remotely negative in tone. This was a guy saying like, well, I mean, you know, there's variations. When you want certain things to happen one way and certain things to happen another way, it's going to require maybe a difference of approach. So then she responds back with, thanks for telling me what we do internally, my dude. So very condescending, right? And it does go on from there. She actually says here, she quoted his tweet and said, today in being a female game dev, allow me, a person who does not work with you, to explain how to do your job. So again, she was posting it out there, you know, in the marketplace of ideas, so to speak, and responded back with very valid and carefully constructed feedback. And she took it as to being, oh, today, life of a female game developer. Oh my God. You know, to which case a lot of people started kind of coming back at her, and she followed that up with, the next rando asshat who attempts to explain the concept of branching dialogue to me as if, you know, having worked in gaming narrative for a fucking decade, I've never heard of it, is getting insta-blocked. And people, at this point, it's going to blow up the way that it's going to be. Look, you can see there are 216 likes, and 69 people were talking about it, because when this happens, people end up very much getting involved, because they do view it as a developer attacking gamers and simply trying to claim something is sexist because there was a response from a man to a woman on the internet. That's kind of where we find ourselves. And of course, it goes down here to Peter Fries, who's a writer also on Guild Wars 2, you know, and he comes back and says, also see lopsided defense of mansplaining and your mentions versus outpouring of sympathy for misunderstood dude and his. So, you know, saying, oh, lots of mansplaining, but people were being defensive of Duror because Duror was, you know, did nothing wrong. He's a good lad, so to speak. And this isn't the first time, though, that Jessica Price has gotten in negative with gamers. In fact, just almost 2 months ago, the gaming lost TotalBiscuit, which was something that was expected, but never, you know, you never wanted it to happen. You wanted him to fight back and win. You know, John was a good guy. I didn't agree with him on everything, but I still mourned his passing to everybody else. I was very frustrated for days. However, she came back here, and this is, again, from the day it happened, or I think the day after it happened. She says, the kindest thing I can say is I'm glad he's no longer around to keep doing harm. to which case she was asked who passed, and she responded, TotalBiscuit. And that, again, pissed off a lot of people because TotalBiscuit was a staple in the gaming community. He was a person that, in the many cases of, to some, he legitimized gaming commentary. Developers kind of feared him, but they also loved him and they also respected him. And he treated everyone fairly. He just didn't, he always wouldn't bend over backwards for certain things. There were other things I think he did bend over on a little bit, like the CoxCon situation with R-Traps Gay, and his response to that was a little bit over the top. But for the most part, he was very fair and very balanced. And if there was ever an abundance of nonsense online, he would pipe up and try to shut it down using a very TotalBiscuit way. But apparently Jessica Price here was none too pleased with any of that, and she's just glad he's no longer around to do any more harm, when the rest of us are mourning a person who was an inspiration to many of us and a person we looked up to. So, you can see how the response here of, as did your career, in regards to TotalBiscuit dying. Yeah, I get that. Now, again, there was a big pushback on Reddit. There was a big pushback on the Guild Wars 2 subreddit. A lot of people were upset about this, and it caught the attention of ArenaNet, the higher ups there at least, and they actually issued a statement here. This is coming from Mike O'Brien, who is the ArenaNet president, and he says here, recently 2 of our employees failed to uphold our standards of communicating with players. Their attacks on the community were unacceptable, and as a result, they are no longer with the company. I want to be clear that the statements they made do not reflect the views of ArenaNet at all. As a company, we always strive to have a collaborative relationship with the Guild Wars community. We value your input and make this game for you. And a lot of people are championing this. They're very happy that these 2 people lost their jobs. It's the free market at work. This is karma coming back. I've always been of the belief that a person's opinion should never cost them their job. That's her opinion about TotalBiscuit is a terrible, terrible take, a bad opinion, but it still shouldn't cost her job. I don't know if it was like kind of the deciding factor. Probably not. But what the thing here, the difference here between what I said about people's opinions is that she moved past having an opinion. She purposefully targeted this person, claimed a sexist response when it wasn't, and then started calling people asshats and engaging in that type of echo chamber. And then Peter Freeze joined into the conversation, albeit not as much as her, but still went in there claiming that that their customers were mansplaining her, and that there was a bunch of sympathy for what he probably would use the term man baby, I would argue. And then ultimately that reflected poorly upon them within the company's community guideline standings, and they were let go. And I don't feel bad about that. Not one damn bit. Having an opinion is having an opinion, right? Me espousing this is having an opinion. But if I were to target someone directly and make false statements about them, who were just trying to be part of the conversation, yes, I can understand why they'd then be used against me. So I don't feel bad that either of them were terminated, and I don't feel bad one damn bit. This is an outright victory for gamers, and given everything we've seen from Gamergate, that it was about 4 years ago now, to now. Not even that, going back as far as, let's say, even February 2012 with the whole Jennifer Hepler situation with BioWare leading into Mass Effect 3 and that cluster of an ending, and how gamers have espoused their opinion and they've been called all of these terrible, nasty things for not falling lockstep in line with everybody else. And it's good to see that that type of behavior, while praised and championed for a half decade now, it feels like, if not more, definitely more, is now being resulted in there being punishment and consequences to the actions. When you start attacking the consumers is when you start losing them, and when you start losing them, that means money's not there. And so the company is under no obligation to protect you when you act a fool essentially in their name. And that's basically what happened here. So Jessica Price, Peter Freeze, good luck with unemployment. Don't be too upset, though. I believe you both live in Washington State. I live here, too. From what I understand, it's not so shabby. So and enjoy that, I guess. But that wraps up today's episode of the show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Toss down that subscribe. Check back pretty much daily for new content from me. If you want to support the channel, one of the best ways right now is to check out patreon.com/MundaneMatt. If you felt the content was worthy, check it out. Support. And if not, you just want to turn off that pesky ad block, you can do that too. And I'll see you guys later. Have a great one, and peace out.